being.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah, it covers all of that.
Oh, it does?
Yeah. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit.
Amen.
Let us pray for peace, and also for the success of the March for Pro-Life in Washington. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou among women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners, now and at the hour of our death. Amen. Mary, seat of wisdom, pray for us. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Okay, but maybe you make a mistake, huh? No, it's okay, transcendental. Transcendental. Okay, tonight we continue to discover metaphysics. What is the object of metaphysics? What we study? Being, huh? Existence. Existence. And in fact, existence is not the object of metaphysics is not the most abstract. The object of metaphysics is the most concrete. Because being is, what is most concrete is being, no? When we study chemistry, we study biology, we study astronomy, we study being. So sometimes they say, oh, metaphysics is only for a dreamer. No, in metaphysics we touch really the most important reality. It is existence, and that is not a dream to exist. No? Okay? So tonight we work on the transcendental. So first, what are transcendental? So the term, I can do. The terms whose range and scope are not equal to those of the being itself. So the transcendental, what they are. If I will begin by an example. If you take any being, a being to be a being, first it must be one. A being must be one. That means every being must be one. That is common sense, no? Secondly, every being, the fact it exists, it can be known. So it can be object of knowledge, so it is true. It's a true being. If it is not a true being, I cannot know it. I know only what is being. Non-being, can I know non-being? I cannot know non-being. So I know being, and we seek at every being. It must be first known by someone who did it, produced it. For example, this desk is a being, and that being should be taught by a carpenter who did that, you know. So it is true. And finally, also being, because it exists, the fact it exists, it is good. It is good to exist. The first perfection of any being is to exist. It's a perfection to exist. It is better to exist, not to exist. So we can say that every being is one, every being is true, every being is good. True, one, true, and good, we call that transcendental. Why? Because they are in every being. Every being possesses those three characteristics, the three we call transcendental. So we say, I read the text here. The division of being into substance and accident. We saw that in logic and philosophy of men. The substance, what is permanent under the change, and the accident. Remember, we call that categories, division of being. In Greek, category means division, division of being, or also we call that predicament. That is only to refresh your memory. Because we will not forget that. Substance and accident are constituting every finite thing. We saw that. Well, the substance is being in itself. We saw that last week. Being in itself. For example, I am a boy. I am an adolescent. I am an adult. I am a father, I am a priest, I am a wise man, I am a stupid man, I am an old man, etc. I am good health, I am sick. It's also I. The same I, we call that the substance. And all the quality, characteristic in the substance, remember quality, quantity, relation, action, passion, position, when, where, and possession, all that are in the substance. So we see that being exists as substance and accident. So I come back to the text here. So the division of being in substance and accident give rise to words whose scope is less than the being itself. Why? Because substance is being, and accidents are being in another, but they are being. So substance and accidents are less universal than being. Okay? While every substance is a being, we cannot say that every being is a substance. Every substance is a being. Every accident is a mode of being, but I cannot say that every being is a substance, because some beings are substance, some beings are accident. For example, the position, the time, the relation, fatherhood, motherhood, for example. To be a father, to be a mother, that is, it is in you. It is in you. It is not your substance. It is a mode of being. So being is more universal. Being includes everything. Okay. So when we speak about being, and we saw that being is one. So if I exist as a person, I am one. I am true man. I'm not made plaster with plastic or, you know. I am a true man. Interesting. When we speak about Jesus in the Greek, what we see? True man and true God. And we remember when we study about truth. That is here, it is ontological truth. That means the truth of the being itself. The truth of the being itself. Remember Archimedes. You remember Archimedes? No, I did not speak about Archimedes. Archimedes was asked by the Dionysius, the king of the tyrant of Syracuse in Sicily, to verify if the crown made by a goldsmith was made with real gold. With real gold, not apparent or gold. So Archimedes discovered the principle of buoyancy, the principle of hydrostatic. Okay? So he was searching for the truth of the being of the crown, you know, ontological being. Okay? But because we study also logical being, what I think corresponds to what it is in the reality. Okay? If I call somebody, I say, well, you know, now I am in prayer in the chapel. That is not true. Why? Because it does not correspond to the reality. I should say I am in class with very studious student, very serious and attentive. You should be here with me. Okay. Now, next paragraph. Terms whose range and scope are equal to those of being itself. It is what we call the transcendental. It is what I already spoke about. Since what they mean transcends the division in two categories. I can divide the being in two categories, substance and accident. But substance is true, substance is one, substance is any substance. And the color, suppose you have the color green. The color green is a mode of being. The color green is, if it is a real color green, it will be a true color green, it will be a good color green, it will be a one color green. Every being and every mode of being are expressed through the three, to those we call transcendental, because they are in everything. not only being exists, but as soon as being exists, there is one being, a true being, and a good being. True, good, and one. The three transcendental. In Latin, for those who like Latin, unum, rerum, and bonum. So you can say that to your pastor or something. Okay. They are the properties that necessarily accompany being, and thus are found in every being. So every being is necessarily one, is necessarily true. That means knowable by an intellect, at least by the intellect who produced that being, and good, because if it exists, it should have a sufficient reason to exist. There is something good. Existence is the first good process. Do you think sometimes to thank God for your existence? Yes, you thank God. Yes. Oh, also, thank God you make me so intelligent. Oh, thank you. So pious. It's rare that we thank God. Thank you for having given me existence. I should not exist, but I exist. And you know, father and mother, the great responsibility you have is to transmit existence. And when we stop existence, we stop a value, the first value in everything to exist. Okay, I continue. So of those transcendental that we discussed, unum, the one. One means also integral. To be one, I must be integral. I must be all. Complete. That means I must have, for example, I have many organs in my body, many organs, many powers. And all those powers are one, They are myself. So there is unity, unity. Otherwise, if there is not unity, we have many beings. And we have many beings, we don't, you know, in fact, I can say here, we apply the principle of identity. I am who I am, no? I am not another, I am myself. And if you think you are not yourself, you are another, that is a disease, a psychiatric problem. We call schizophrenia. Schizophrenia. You don't know who you are, we think you are another. Cardinal Léger, who lived with us 10 years in Cameroon, he told us a day he went to the psychiatric hospital in Montreal. And he met many people. Someone, they pretend to be... and one, he said, "Who are you?" And he said, "Seriously, I am Cardinal Léger." And Cardinal Léger shaking, and he said, "I am very happy to meet you." He was a schizophrenic. They have another personality. They are totally disconnected from their I. They are not one. They are not one.
Well, a question about good. When you say good is just for that individual, for example, Ebola is good for Ebola, but it's certainly not good for the people who have it.
Yes, okay. The virus itself, the being itself is a being.
Right.
But every being does not have all the qualities. No? What is evil? Evil is not a being. Evil is an absence of being. You know? So, in Ebola, it is a disease. A disease is an absence of. But the organism that produces that is a being. It's true. It's a being. Mosquitoes are being. But we don't like mosquitoes. No, they are being. Okay? Oh, we come back on that. Okay? And the goodness, because that, in fact, we touch here the problem, we studied philosophy of God, the problem of evil. Because Ebola is an evil. It's a disease. Every disease is a kind of evil. Okay? No, it's not an evil for big company who make money with God. but even for the people who suffer. Okay? And goodness. But some will add also beauty, pulchrum, what is beauty? I don't explain that right now because we have a paragraph on that. Thing, arise, a thing. What is the most used word in your language? Thing. Something, anything, nothing. No? Thing. And thing in Latin is arise. What is the word made in English with rise? Reality. Reality. Reality, what is that? Is this the quality of being a thing? That's the word. Reality is the quality of being a thing. So a thing. Everything finite, material. Be careful. When we speak about thing, we speak always about material thing. We cannot say an angel is a thing. An angel is a creation. It's not a thing. Your soul is not a thing. Your body is a thing. You know? Okay. And the otherness attached to what? We'll come back on that. No? So Father Woolner define transcendental are those common to all things whatsoever and to all differences between things. That mean to substance and accident. No? Because the difference between things they are, we call the predicament quantity, quality, all those. Now, number 32.1, point 2. Those transcendental are coextensive with being. That means, where is being, there is one, there is truth, there is oneness, truth, and goodness. We cannot have a being only, for example, one and true, and no goodness. No. You know, it's interesting. You can use that. Now you can, of course, you don't teach that to the kid before you. When you study philosophy of God, think about that. God cannot be separated from the three persons. The three persons are different, but the three persons are one in the same being. But it's an analogy. Every analogy is imperfect. No? Okay. So just as being is never found without such property, so these properties are inseparable bound to with one another. Okay. Being cannot be known without one, without being one, true and good. But I cannot have a thing only good without being true, without being true or one. So the three coexist continually. Any reality existing imply the three at the same time. They are transcendent. Every being is one, every being is true. That means intelligible. Another word, intelligible. Able to be known by an intellect. And good or able to be will or desired by an appetite. We saw that in the first semester. The object of the intellect is the truth, the thing as true, and the object of the will is the being as good. And we will everything under the aspect of good. That means on the aspect of being. Can we think about the possibility to have good without nothing? Good cannot exist alone. Good exists in a being. So where is good, there is being. And where there is being, there is good. Where there is truth, there is being. Where there is being, there is truth. That's a fact. Okay? They are inseparable. In fact, they are attached one another. When I take that, I take the whole triangle. Can you imagine in mathematics, you can take only two sides of a triangle. If you take only two sides of a triangle, you have no more a triangle. You have an angle. So you have to take the three to have a triangle. You have to take the three to have a base. The three transcendental. Consequently, according to the measure and manner in which a thing possesses being, a thing possesses, Because where is being? It is in thing. For us, we don't speak about angel here. We speak about finite being, especially rays. Thing we can know through our senses. And if we know immaterial reality, it is always through our senses. We saw that. And we know how our knowledge starts from our senses. But we can abstract from our senses. But the starting point is always our senses. Okay? Consequently, according to the measure and manner in which a thing possesses being, this thing partakes of unity, truth, and goodness. And conversely, according to the measure and manner in which a thing shares this property, one or true or good, it is a being. So this ultimately implies that subsistent being, what is the subsistence? We'll see that soon when we study next week. Subsistence is a substance that exists, having existence. Substance plus existence. Because a substance can be also known through my mind, no? What is a cyclops? It's a man with only one eye. We see that in the cartoon. Children see many cyclops now. In my time, we never know what a cyclops was. They know what a cyclops. No? So, and we know that the cyclops has a color, a cyclops has a volume, a cyclops is moving, the cyclops is fighting. We know that. But does a cyclops exist?
No.
No. So when a substance has existence, we call that a subsistence. What is to subsist? Is to continue to exist. In the word subsistence, you have the word sub. Under, sub, subsist. What is under? And what is under subsistence is the substance. And the substance is under, support the accident. My eye support my way, my qualities, my quantity, etc. So that class can help you to precise some concept, the concept of substance and accident. So the substance is what is permanent under the change. But if that substance now exists, and not only in the dictionary or in my imagination, it is subsistent. Subsisting, it is a substance. Okay? And that is the case for man. Man is a subsistent being, intelligent and free. Subsistent being. If you think about your cat or your dog, if you have one, that cat is one cat. Every cat is unique. Even with the 100 Dalmatians, you remember the movie? But there is only, everyone is one. Even if they are similar, they are not identical. Secondly, it is a true cat, because you can know your cat. If you can know it or him, because if you consider as a person, you see him or her, it is because his being is object of your intellect. Your cat is intelligible. It can be known. It's a real cat. It's not a cat made with plastic, made in China. It's a real cat. And finally, your cat exists. And the fact your cat exists is a good thing. Not because he is hunting mice, not because he is very close to you, he lied to you. No, because he exists. And the fact it exists, it can be love, it can be desire, it can be the object of a will, a desire, of a decision. Okay. Next paragraph. Nature of transcendental. Here we have three reflections. First, as essentially given with being, every transcendental is attached essentially, in essence. Though these determinants are called essential attributes. So one true, and good are essential attributes. What is an attribute? You remember another word? A predicate, huh? Subject and predicate. And predicate, when you speak in English in class, you don't say that. What is the predicate of the subject? We say, what is the attribute? It's the same thing, huh? The attribute. They are the quality attached to the subject. Huh? Attributed, I said attributed, being given to the subject. Secondly, as transcending all particularities in the order of being, they are called transcendental. As belonging to everything whatsoever, they are designed as the most common determinant of all things. So every being, any kind of being, is one, is true, and is good. 4. Their determination as properties. They are properties. They are not genus, they are not specific difference. You remember when we studied the predicable? The predicable expresses the relation between a subject and a predicate. How the predicate is attributed. And we saw two modes. It can be attributed in an essential way and in an accidental way. You remember? An essential way, we saw three things. As a genus, as a specific difference, and as a species. Remember? Genus, specific difference, and species. But it can be accidental attributed. So we saw two things. Some attributes are attached to the subject, not in an essential way, but they flow, they come from the essence of the thing. And we call that property. Remember, what is the property of man according to Aristotle? Man is able to laugh. Remember that? Man is able to laugh. Remember the story, the real story of Blessed Bartholomew de las Casas, when he took 14 Indians from the Caribbean, he brought them to Spain to prove that they were intelligent. And they say, the proof man is intelligent when he is able to laugh. But they were so terrified, they were not able to laugh. Happily, you remember that? Yeah. Happily, the secretary of the nuncio was not fast enough to put the chair under the precious bottom of the nuncio, and the nuncio fell on the floor. And the engine laughed. Therefore, they are human beings, property. So the property of being are one, true, and good. But the true is not being. Otherwise, there will be no difference between true and being. But it is an essential property, not accidental, essential property of being. Okay? But when I say man is able to laugh, it's not essential. Because if a man does not laugh, he is still a man. Okay? Now, what are the consequences of that? In philosophy, when we affirm something, there are always consequences after that. First, those words are not synonymous for being. And they add something to being. To see that being is true is not the same to say that being is being. If there was no difference, but being is being, no, being is true. So the concept true, the term truth, adds something to being. That means a relation to an intellect. True indicates a relation to an intellect. And good, a relation to an appetite, or to the will of man, to concupiscible appetite. So the words are not synonymous, absolutely synonymous. Secondly, they are of necessity they are not accident. They are determinant. They are formally identical with being. They are one with being, but they can be distinguished from the concept of being. When we study that here, we are preparing our study of God. Because when we study about God, God is being with a capital B. And his attribute of being God are one with God. But we can't distinguish them. Can't distinguish them. Okay? 3. These properties do not actually arise out of being. Being is their foundation and otherwise identical with them. That means they exist only in the being where they are. I cannot take the truth of the being and take it off from the being. No. It is like your soul is one with your body. It's the same that the truth, the goodness of a thing, the oneness of a thing is one with being. Okay? I apologize if I repeat a lot. You know, repetition is the mother of understanding, learning. 3. These properties, one, true and good, do not actually we saw that. Therefore, being is not their principle and not their cause. In fact, being does not cause the truth. Being does not cause. Being is not the cause of the property. Being and its transcendent are one, but they can be distinguished. There is a distinction of reason between them. Why? Because we know that through our reason. We know that being can be known, being can be desired, can be willed, and being, it must be different from other. Because if being is not different from other, it is not being. Okay. In fact, here we touch, I told that, the principle of identity, and also the autonomy. Every being, by the fact it exists, is autonomous in the sense that it is different from other. Every being exists different from another. 4. The distinction between being and its attribute is a distinction of reason, reasoned. When we study in logic, I think at the end of logic, we study the different distinction. And what we saw, real distinction and distinction of reason. So we have real distinction and distinction of reason. So real distinction, for example, this desk is different, distinct from the chair, from the other desk. That is very easy. That means the distinction exists independently of my mind. It is not because I see the distinction between two chairs or two desks or two persons that I create the distinction. The distinction was there before I discovered that. That is distinction of reason, real distinction. But real distinction of reason, we have two kinds. We have distinction of reason, reasoned, and distinction of reason, reasoning. What is the difference? Let us go to reason, reasoning. The distinction of reason, reasoning is a distinction made by your mind without foundation in the reality. Without foundation. For example, in Latin, the distinction in Greek between Andres and Anthropos. Anthropos. Okay, forget that. Distinction between men, men and male, for example, you know, or it is a distinction only in the words. In the word, we use many words to design the same thing. That distinction is only in my mind. Reason, reasoning. I create that distinction. I create a new word to express something. I'm not satisfied with the other. I want to create a new word. Okay? But here, reason. A distinction of reason has a foundation in the reality. That means if I distinguish, for example, in being, the fact being is one, and being is true, and being is good, because in the reality I know that this being is unique and different from the rest, so is one. I know that. I know that any being can be known, any being. So I distinguish something through my reason. I cannot see that. But in fact, we are at the level of second intention. First intention, I know what is a desk. But now, if I go to second intention, I know that a desk is an object. A desk is a subject, the desk is brown, etc. It is second intention. Grammar, when you analyze, I eat an apple. What is an apple? And if you answer your teacher, it is a fruit, you will have 0. What is an apple? You say it is the complement of object, of the verb. I eat what? An apple. So that you are under second intention. You are on the level of reason that. There is a reason, you have a reason to say that John is a subject of to eat, and you have a reason to say that the apple is the complement of object. But that is only in your mind. In the reality, there is no subject, there is no attribute. There is a John, there is an apple. You understand? So in fact, mathematics are the second level of intention, completely. And so when we arrive to distinguish in thing, we put distinction in the thing. We put distinction in the thing. It is from our reason. But I have a right to do that because there is a foundation. There is a foundation here to affirm that every being is one. There is a foundation to say that every being can be known by the intellect. There is a foundation to say that every being, that division is reason. The distinction is reason. And we see that when we speak about God. God is just. God is merciful. God is omnipotent. God is omniscience, etc. All the attributes of God. Okay? God and all the attributes we give to God. Justice, etc. Merciful, mercy, etc. The distinction is real. Excuse me, it's not real because in God there is no real distinction between His existence and His attribute. In fact, when I say God is merciful, it will be better to say God is mercy. When I say God is wise, I should say wisdom, God is wisdom. Because the distinction comes from my mind. But it is not a distinction, a pure distinction of my reason. Why I can say that God is merciful, why I can say that God is omnipotent, because I can see His effects. So my distinction is a distinction of reason, but with fundamental, with a foundation in the reality. Okay? So here the distinction between one, true, and good is a distinction of reason, that means with a foundation in the reality. In Latin, cum fundamento in re. If you see that in the book, you can understand it. Cum fundamento in re. With a foundation, fundamento in re, in the thing, in the reality. Okay. Okay, I go now to number 32.4. The conception, the connection between the transcendental. First, unity is the attribute of a thing whereby this thing is undivided. One undivided in itself and yet divided from other. So it is adequate. Other. Adequate, when I say one, I oppose. The adequate in that Latin means other. So we are here other, different, autonomous, different, etc. Wholeness, integrity, wholeness, integrity, integral. Secondly, the truth. Truth is the attribute of being whereby being is a relation to a knowing intellect. I saw that with you. Huh? Being is true because being is able to be known by an intellect. And because of that, we can affirm that every being is intelligible. Every being. Because be careful, that does not mean we will know it entirely. For example, God is intelligible. Only himself can know himself perfectly. But we know him. We know he exists and we study his attributes. Huh? So intelligible. A thing exists, it is intelligible. And that is the foundation of science. Why we study spider, germs, all those things? We study planets. Why? Because being is intelligible. Being has the quality, the characteristic of being known by an intellect. Otherwise, we will condemn not to know. We know because there is something in being able to be known. What is the first thing in every being to be known? We can know in every being its existence. In fact, in science, it is that. First, we discover the existence of a thing, a phenomenon, an object or a disease or a new star, I don't know. And after that, we are searching to know this. What is that? So the existence of a thing. The truth. The third one, the goodness now. The ontological good is attribute of being, whereby being is a relation to an appetite. It is desirable. It is something good. And when something is good, and we know its existence, and we desire it, no? When I went to St. Patrick Cathedral last May or last June, I don't remember, with Vietnamese sister. When we came back at the junction of around 66 and 17, there is a little shopping center, very little, and it is written DQ, Dairy Queen. So I decided to stop and to offer to the sister Dairy Queen. They never heard about Dairy Queen except in class. And now they know that they discovered the queen of the dairies. And not because of that now, they can say to their confrère, where do you want to go? And they can answer, I want to go to Dairy Queen. You know, when we know the existence of a thing, we can will it, we can desire. We cannot desire, we cannot love, we cannot will what we don't know. That is a principle, fundamental principle in everything. In publicity, it is the nerve of publicity. You have to make product known, no? Etc. Okay? So why there is something good? Because there exists. If the product does not exist, it cannot attract. We attract only if the thing exists. Okay? You know, I saw in Montreal, for many years there is a big board, and they are supposed to build a tower for mature people. And that tower is always there. Nobody is interested to buy because there is nothing. And to buy virtually, many people are very wide, especially old people, they don't like that. They want to have everything immediately for their money. So we will something when we know the thing exists. So that is interesting to see how knowledge and how the will or the appetite are united with being. We cannot separate them. As soon as a thing exists, the thing can be known, and the thing can be will or desire. Okay? Another thing you see here, I can stress the link between metaphysics and philosophy of man. Many things are going together now. Okay? Next paragraph. True being, unity comes directly to an entity, a being. Ens, entis in Latin, ens means to exist. It's the verb esse, infinitive, and the participle, present participle is ens, or being. And we call that sometimes entity. Something real, a thing, something real. Don't be careful. Many things can be real without being a thing. Can we reduce being, existence, only to thing? T-H-I-N-G. No. Because you deny your soul, you deny God, you deny... So, you know, but of course, it is easy for us to see what is a thing, but we cannot reduce being to thing. Being is more than thing. And being can be also without matter, if we accept the spirit, the immateriality of the extent of immateriality and spirituality. I go to the, so unity is given with the being directly, without intermediary. And for this reason, being is considered, referred as pre-operative attribute of being. That means before operating, we must exist. So we can say being is pre-operative. As long as a thing does not exist, it cannot produce any effect. It cannot. So for this truth now and goodness build upon unity. About one thing, there must be only one truth. No? A truth can be at the same time true or not true. So oneness of a thing is linked with the uniqueness of the truth. One truth for one being. Okay? That also is linked with the principle of contradiction and also the principle of identity. Identity. I continue to read that. They are not merely induced from the unity of being, but rather as given through a type of operation, and so are referred as operative attribute. In fact, what is the object of truth? It is the act of intellection. The act of intellection. When you think, when you know, you use your intellect. It is active, it is an operation. When you think, when you study, you operate, no? It is very important. For example, a pilot in a plane, he has to take a decision. It is very important for him to operate here, before here. No? And so that here means the being is preparing, is preparing the operation, the operative attribute. The operative attribute, that means the truth can be known by an intellect, can be the object of intellection, and the good can be the object of volition. Volition. So, in fact, being is the source of action. Being is not pure passivity. Being can provoke activity. The activity of the intellect is, in fact, being is essentially linked with the activity of an intellect. At least the intellect which produces it. I give you an example. You go in the forest, you see a flower. Nobody saw the flower. You are the first to see the flower. But before you, that flower existed, and the mother flower, the grandmother flower existed before. Huh? So but why do you know them today? Because they exist. And their existence, their being, is making you into operation. In fact, what is being here is the object of knowledge, the object of volition. And when you study, remember we study the subject, the act, and the object. No? Paul eats. No, Paul is The eats, yes, okay, eats. An apple. Or Paul sees a cat. Okay? So the existence of the object is causing, as math is causing your knowledge. If there is nothing, I cannot know. Of course, if I have no power, I cannot know. We saw that our knowledge, you remember, is objective. It depends on the object. So here, the being is provoking the knowledge in the one who discovered it. But he is first in the knowledge of the one who did it before. Anyway, truth, any being is linked with the first cause who did that thing, and is linked with those who will know it. The flower, it is seen by you for the first time. He is making you know it. You know it because it exists. So, you know, here the link of being with truth is at two extremes. The being true in the mind of the one who did that, and if you go to the end, it is God. And it is also in the mind of the one who will see it, who will discover it. So, truth is linked with the cause, the efficient cause, and the one who will be influenced by that good. It's the same for that being. It is the same here. The good exists in the thing because the one who did that was good. For example, the carpenter must have some quality to make a table. Okay? So the being of the table here depends on the carpenter. But when I discover the existence of that table, I can be attracted by that table. I can say, I will that table, I will it to use it, to write on it, I will buy it, etc. You know? So being is, in fact, a dynamic reality. A dynamic reality. Being is not totally passive. Being is provoking knowledge. Being is provoking volition or appetition. Okay? So sometimes we look at the world, at material things, even for example, a diamond. Look at the diamond. A diamond is a being. The diamond is known by the one who, what do we say, who work on the diamond. There is a name for that. The shape of the diamond, you know, huh? And he is known by the one who buy the diamond. So it is known, you know, the fact the thing exists provoke some knowledge. Of course, it provokes some knowledge as an object, not as a subject. Because if nobody sees a flower, nobody sees a diamond, the diamond is not known. But is known by the one who did that. So that means in every being there is knowledge, there is truth. In every being there is good, some aspect of good. If the being exists, it has a sufficient reason to exist. There is something good in that being, even mosquitoes. Okay, so I go to number 8. Truth is ontologically prior to goodness. In sense, in logic, there is only an imperfect or still incomplete union of spirit with being. So truth is ontologically prior to goodness. I cannot will something good if first I don't know its truth, its existence as truth. Huh? And while in appetition or love, this union is complete and perfect. So here I can think about Saint Thomas and Saint Bonaventure. Saint Bonaventure says, and the perfect faculty is the will, the most important. Saint Thomas says, no, it's the intellect. In fact, the intellect is necessary because I cannot love to have a complete possession of the good without knowing the good. Both are necessary. They work together. 9, unity transforms an entity, a thing, making this entity a harmonious whole in which truth is so luminous that is not merely grasped discursively but perceived directly, intuition. And here we touch to beauty. That is beauty. And I don't explain that right now. We are coming just after beauty. So number 10, but the perception of truth embraces goodness, which leads one from this quiet of appetite to the quiet pleasure of the foodman and enjoyment. Remember the analysis of St. Thomas? Our intellect discover some good. My will is attracted. My will decides. And when I possess the good, my intellect say, hey, now you have what you did. And you say, it's good. You know? I enjoy what I want. I desire. You know? The enjoyment. So that is what we see here. The truth and the goodness, they go together. That means we have to develop the whole person, not only the will, not only the intellect. The danger of our society is to develop only the intellect. We develop the intellect, but we don't develop the will. But I saw a movie recently about the terrorists, ISIS. They don't develop the intellect, but they develop the will. They do exactly what the Spartan did before in the time of Plato. And we see children, for example, the child is there, about 10 years old, and the man with the rod, he broke on his head, and the child must not move. And they kicked the child must not move. That they formed the will, but they don't form the intellect. But we do the contrary, we form the intellect, but we form it. In our time, we have way to form the youth. For example, the Boy Scout was a good formation. To form not only the intellect, they form also the will. And Catholic action, anything like that. Okay, so what is beauty? A word about beauty. Beauty is usually included among the transcendental. But strictly speaking, I will not say it is a transcendental, but it's a union with many transcendental together. Beauty, because it includes unity, truth, and goodness. A thing to be beautiful must be one, must be true, and must be good. Must be good. That is, and in fact, the three characteristics of beauty, the first is integrality. In Latin, integrality. So integras, integrity. A thing is beautiful when it is entire. I saw in Cameroon a dog. He was born with 3 legs. The dog has 3 legs. He was a tripod. Well, I cannot say it's a beautiful dog. Why? Because it's not complete. I cannot present that dog at a contest for beauty. To have the medal of the most beautiful dog. No. Why? Because the first condition it is the integrality. Wholeness. One. All. Complete. How do you say in English sanctus? Translate sanctus in English. Holy. Did I explain that to you? Holy comes from whole. Holy is the same as whole. So when you say holy, 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 what do you say? Complete, 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 perfect, perfect, integral. That means you are all, you need nothing, you are complete. We can add nothing to you. That is the meaning of the translation in English. In Latin, sanctus. In French, saint. In Espanol, santo. In Italian, santo. Comes the verb sancere in sancire in Latin. That means to put apart, to consecrate. You know, we have many sheep, and we take one, we put apart for the sacrifice. It is consecrated. That means apart, transcendent. So, in fact, sanctus means you are transcendent, totally apart, totally apart. Interesting. To translate the same thing, we have two roots different. One, in Anglo-Saxon language, it is the onus, the integrity. You are perfect, we can add nothing to you. And the other, oh, you are totally apart, totally apart. In fact, there is no adjective to translate who is God. I find that very interesting as a philosopher. You know, we think we have the same concept. In fact, we don't have the same concept. The Latin, Latino or French, have the concept of sacred. You are sacred, totally apart. And the other, oh, you are totally perfect. Holy, holy, holy. Sanctus, sanctus, sanctus. When you say that at church, you think about that. Okay? That expresses the limit of our language. We cannot express an idea of God only through one word. The unique word expressing God, it is I am. Only that. But for us is the poorest concept, no? The verb to be for us is the poorest concept. We have to put many adjectives. Huh? If you ask somebody, who are you? You say, I. Who are you? I. It's true, he is I, but we are not satisfied. Huh? Because he is more than that. He's an American, he's a Catholic, he's a seminarian, or he's an engineer, or he's etc. Huh? You know, old, young, golfer. But for God, only you are. You exist, that is the plenitude of God. Okay? Pure, we'll come back on that. No, number 9, unity transform an entity, make it this entity, okay, we will have to explain that. 10, the perception of truth embraces goodness. In fact, if I think about truth, I cannot exclude the goodness of the thing. In fact, it is when I know a thing, that knowing the thing, not only I discover what is the thing, but discover that thing is attracting, can produce pleasure, I can desire it. It can become an object of my desire, my will. Excuse me. So the other transcendental, beauty, oh, I stood about that. So beauty, the first, it is integrity. The second dimension is the harmony, due proportion. In fact, Father Wagner in this dictionary gives you the three. The first, it is integrity. Integrity. The second condition for beauty is the due proportion. The proportions are very important. For example, in painting, if you have a big head like that and a little body, you see that it's not beautiful. It's a cartoon. It's not beautiful. The property, at the Renaissance, the painter like Raphael or Michelangelo or sculptor, and they study a lot the proportion. And they discover a number, I don't know the number by heart, a number of proportion we find in almost everything. A kind of golden measure, the proportion. If you want another word, harmony. It must be harmonious. Must be harmonious. Suppose, you know, an adolescent, when your boy arrived at the age of 14, do you remember that? He has a little trunk here and long arms. Do you remember that? That struck me. The teacher, 14 years old, they don't know where to put their hands because their hands arrive at most to their knees. I'm sorry, a little bit, but it's true. They are not proportional. But after that, they become proportionate. You know, men. But if you see a man, and the man is here, and he has a big belly like that. Can you see? It is beautiful. Proportion. What makes the David of Michelangelo? What are the beautiful statues? It is what they are. Proportion. Of course, the modern painting, modern painters, they exaggerate. They exaggerate the form. Long hair. But the nature is beautiful when it is harmonious. Harmony. The main proportion. And finally, the third one is brightness or splendor. Brightness or splendor. Splendid. Provoking astonishment. Splendor. In Latin, they call that claritas. Claritas. It is, when you look at that, you are, oh, beautiful. For example, you go in the kindergarten, you look at children, and suddenly you see, oh, that girl, that girl is so beautiful. Because there is something which impresses you. It's what attracts people for movies? Is it always the story? When they advertise a movie, they say, oh, you know, that story is very, very important for your education. No, what they present? Handsome men, beautiful women, splendid. Oh, so people don't go for the story; they go to see the splendor of Marilyn Monroe. Oh. It's the same in politics today. The look, handsome men, handsome women. In the 17th, the more floppy you were, the best it was. And when you bought a jean, you have to make some holes in the jean on the cut. That was the beauty. No, it's true. The beauty is splendor. We are attracted by what is beautiful. A beautiful spider. No? What? Mr. Spider, when he meet Mr. Spider, he say, oh, you are the most beautiful. And Mrs. Cockroach, when he meets Mr. Cockroach, he say, oh, you are the most beautiful. Of course, there is something subjective in beauty, but there is also something objective. In fact, beauty is attached to two things. Beauty is attached to pleasure. There is a pleasure. It's pleasant. And to see a beautiful, for example, you look at a beautiful landscape, and you come 2 months after, and there was a fire, everything is burned, and that is desolation. The same landscape, the same place, it was the first provoking you a pleasure, it was so beautiful, and now it's horrible. You know? So it is pleasure. And the second is also the delight of the mind, contemplation. So we have, in fact, in beauty, we have a part of sensible effect, and we have also contemplation of the mind, contemplation. It is so beautiful that you can stay there and look at a beautiful sunset. You stop, you say, oh, it's so beautiful. You forget your dishes, you forget. You say, oh. Or say, hey, come. Look at that by the sun. Doing that, you are burning your steak. But and you know, understand here, contemplation. In fact, we contemplate what is beautiful. And what is the most beautiful being is God. So contemplation, it is beauty. But there is no beauty if there is no being, one, true, and good. Beauty is that. And that is interesting to see. Good. So if something is not good, it's only an appearance of beauty. Beauty must be good. Now, otherness, I spoke about that, next page. Thing, otherness. You can read that. And the first principle of being now, 32.6. So you have the first principle are paralleling the various transcendent property. First principle of contradiction. The principle of contradiction is linked with the unum, with one. And the principle of identity is linked with one. We saw that. And you have the three principles. The excluded middle, that means a thing cannot be at the same time. So it is, in fact, we have two main principles attached to one. Identity and principle of contradiction. And excluded middle, if you want. The second is attached to verum. And what is attached to true, to verum? It is the principle of intelligibility. Everything that exists can be known by an intellect, can be the object of an intellect. That means intelligible. A being is essentially intelligible. So is the reason why man is called to know everything. Nothing escapes the research of man. Science will never finish up to the end of time. We never finish to discover. And the more we discover, we know that we don't know. And attached to that, the second principle, very important, I already spoke, the principle of sufficient reason. Everything that exists has a reason for existence. It's not the principle of causality, it's different. The third causality, that means every finite being has a cause. God does not have a cause. But God has a sufficient reason to exist, and the sufficient reason is himself. He exists by himself. And the principle of being. Now, the next class, we have to take the rest. I will begin by the potency and act, and after that we study essence and existence and touching. Okay? Take a rest even if you it is time for you. Can you stop? Or Jim, to stop